Am I starting?
Now we're fighting over first.
Am I doing? Am I doing both of them?
My turn.
Or just
Do
one?
chapter 1 first, and then we'll make the rounds again.
Yeah, we'll make rounds.
Okay, so part 1. I don't really remember this shit, but I wrote down that respect is the ability to see a person as they are, and also to be aware of their individuality, and that people are irreplaceable and unique. And a little side note, I guess, that he mentioned was, and this is all, I guess, in the context of like children or child development or whatever,
Oh yeah.
is that you should not try to change or manipulate them, and instead just let it sort of unfold as they are. So you don't want to shape them however you think is correct or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then the next thing I put was that you can't force respect or love. Most of those things are sort of something that the person has to give you. Like, I think the example they gave for respect was that, like, if you're a tyrannical teacher or whatever, then they'll sort of respect you out of fear, but it's not genuine respect.
Yeah, didn't he use a ball an analogy or something like that? He said it's a respect is a ball you have to toss to the other person, and they have to toss it back to you.
Yeah.
You said that, right?
Head.
You eat the ball at their head and have it bounce back off their head at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that counts.
Yeah,
it's them giving you respect.
It's just as good.
Functionally, yeah. What else? I don't really understand what this note means. I put writing individual past to fit current self. I think it was like you interpret whatever was in your past to, or whatever you remember to fit your current version of yourself, however you think of yourself.
Yeah, I think I saw it in the chapter. It was like your past depends on your now. Was the
title. So yeah, that probably meant something a bit more profound at the time when I was thinking about it. And then, yeah, Steffi was right. This thing is a little distracting because my shit's like glitching out. It's like he's twitching. Anyways, my final note is that I guess this was the sort of like triangle thing that he was talking about, but I guess that you should focus on what to do from now instead of thinking poor me or that bad person or whatever, instead of focusing on the past whatever issue. You should look forwards to the future. And that's it. Those are all my notes for part 1.
We need a little like bell when someone's turns over. Ding. Conclusion. Alright, so
you can put one in VR chat. We can put a VR chat bell.
What's next?
I'm next.
He's next.
I'm next.
Alright.
I think I saw like one of those little bells on like a show or something for like they were doing speed dating.
They have to move over to the next thing.
Yeah, as they ring a little bell. No, it was a gong. It was a gong.
We'll get a gong.
I don't like saying like this.
Or what are they called? Are they called symbols where you bang them together?
If I do like this,
yeah.
is it like normal? No.
Yeah, little symbols. Yeah.
Alright, my turn. It's pretty much the same as what Blake said. As far as like respect goes, you that is something that is earned, and I guess respect is tied into love in here as well. I can't remember where it was in here, but I'm sure it is tied to love.
Yeah, he's. I think he did say something then.
It's actually in the first chapter too, but I was going to talk about it in the second chapter. The objective of education is self-reliance, which I thought is very apt. And I don't know really if it should be taught, because I don't know if that really can be taught. Like, people need to like learn for themselves, and if they don't have the drive to learn, they're probably not going to learn. I think that's really hard to implement into schools, which is kind of what they're talking about, because this guy is a teacher, but he hasn't fucking grown in like 3 or 4 years.
How can a kid be a teacher, though?
Because he acts like one.
I mean, in the book I'm listening to, he's still got that same little kid voice, and it's like I couldn't.
Well, he's fictional. He's not even real.
You know,
he's not
being
even
a
Yeah.
teacher.
That's why I like reading the book.
real
better,
to
but
me.
I was listening to the audio
Yeah.
version that Joseph's listening to. They made the guy sound super like
Yeah.
young. Yeah.
Way too young.
All I'm saying is he ain't learned shit.
No, he didn't.
He thought he did.
He's even like
did.
worse than the complaining in this book. It sounds like to me. That's what I feel like.
He
I
did,
found it
huh?
funny.
Yeah.
He like remember the soup thing where he screamed at the waiter or whatever.
Yeah.
Example. That's like the first 2 chapters. He's
Yep.
still screaming. He's still crying. He
It's
ain't learned
basically
shit.
where they left off in this book, and it's just like it's nothing. It's like like I said, the first section was like an intro, basically, from the last book.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Have concern for other people's concerns. I think that's a good entry into like socialization, like just showing concern for other people, which does get tiring depending on who I guess you're showing concern for. But I think also just showing concern creates just a better world in general.
True.
Everything else I want to talk about, Blake, I think got a hit on. And anything else I don't want to take because I don't think there's too much we're going to talk
Okay.
about in the first chapter.
There's not really
So-
much. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
bell
so
bell
it's my
bell
turn.
symbol sign. Ting.
All right.
All right, my turn. Okay, so I'll touch on the point where it says your now decides the past. And because I've always been kind of fascinated with this, especially when you're like if you're with your friend and you guys see the same movie and you do everything the same together, how your like whole perspective of something can be so different. Like you guys experience it in such a different way. And then I thought that he kind of presented the issue he presented it kind of interesting in a different way that I hadn't thought about it. Because it's like your current situation and your mindset now will dictate if the things that happened to you in the past were good or bad. Like
I'm
if you
messing with it.
think about them, right, as good or bad.
Mhm.
And
I'm messing with.
because I've had,
Right.
we've all had
Oh, it looks. It's
fucked
fucked
up.
up. Shit.
We've all had like a fucked up shit that's happened to us, and I think I typically look at that kind of stuff and I think of it like, oh, I'm kind of thankful for that asshole that did that to me or whatever, because it in some way like taught me, that there are kind people. Because if I didn't have that, someone being such a jerk to me, I wouldn't know what real kindness is. Like you kind of need both to have a good perspective. And
Yeah.
I think that's where I look at the glass like a little half full, because it's like that moment happened to me in the past, so I don't want to like suffer from it, but I can still reflect and realize like, so I look at it kind of in like I think more of a positive way, like even the shitty things that have happened. So I thought that was kind of interesting point. I just didn't realize that how he said that they turn into good memories. So, do you guys think that you really forget if you get so caught up in something like so negatively, do you think that people do like tune out the good things that happen to them? They just ignore it
that's
and then
pretty
focus
much
on
what
Yeah,
like
I think-
depression is.
Yeah, because remember the dog bite example that he gave, and then like
Yeah.
somebody actually helped him and took him to the hospital. He just
Oh,
kind of
God damn it.
totally forgot that the person helped him.
Yeah. Blake is turning
Yeah.
into a pretzel.
No, I'm trying.
See,
I was
this is
trying
why I
to
won't
fix
do
it.
VR chat. You guys are just
I
fucking
see.
around, not paying attention to me.
Also,
not
it might be like a
distracted.
memory thing too, because like,
Yeah.
in the case of like a
Shit off.
marriage or something, you guys could have like bad times or whatever and good times, but like if you have more responsibilities and you have children and all this other shit going on, then you might be worried about XYZ situation happening currently and not like think about the times that they were helping you out and stuff when you were really low.
Right.
So I think like it is good to reflect on it. I think people should do that more. But it also just might be a time thing where people don't mean to like take advantage of someone or stuff like that.
Yeah.
They
I
just
mean,
get
that
distracted.
definitely happens in relationships where one person might feel like they're contributing more than the other. And then I guess that goes back to literally what he said. Your now decides the past because you'll either like think about all the times they didn't help you, or
Mhm.
you'll think about all the times they did help you.
Yeah.
You kind of X out the one or the other. So I thought that was good that he brought that up though. It's like a good little reminder to kind of maybe I should like like to just re-examine things because maybe the way that you think you like are remembering them is not correct or it's one-sided. All right, I think that will conclude my turn for part 1.
Steffi's turn's done.
VR chat turn.
VR chat turn.
Whose turn is it?
It's my turn.
Wait, what if I do this?
VR chat turn.
See, then I could sit on the chair.
Is Brett, are you in the VR chat too?
No.
Oh, okay.
He's in VR chat. You
I'm
guys
in
are
the chair now.
roasters. You guys should be in VR chat.
Roy, it's your turn.
I know. Hold on. I'm going. I didn't separate like my notes, so I need to see like the table of contents to see where like the division is. But
Divide.
yeah, the Great Divide of part 1 and part 2.
All in Vegas.
Well, they talk about reward and punishment
Why am I
in
that
part
way?
2.
Yeah, I think I see where like part 2 of my
Hmm.
notes like starts. But I guess just a statement about like the goal of education is to make the student self-reliant. I definitely agree with that, or at least that should be like the target goal of education is to make someone self-reliant. It's like the purpose for teaching someone how to like read or think and stuff. The goal is to make them self-reliant, basically be capable of doing those things on their own. And
Yeah.
the way that they portray the youth in the book is definitely not really like educating people. I think that's like might be later in the book, but he basically says he makes like vertical hierarchies based off like authority and stuff to kind of keep like
That was in part 2, I
control.
think.
Yeah,
That was in part 2.
yeah. But yeah, that's kind of how like that maps in. The have concern for other people's concern one was definitely pretty interesting concept, but I don't know exactly. It's like one of those things where like you kind of understand like the theory of it behind it, but the actual practical implementation of it is kind of like hard. But I guess in this book and in the previous book, they said a very difficult part of Adler in psychology is like putting it into practice. So it's not something that's just you pick up the theory and then all of a sudden you're great at doing everything.
Well, that's why it says, does it make it an ideology and then something that's actually not practical?
Well, I think it's supposed to have practical applications. Like something like teleology is definitely that can be very practical. It has very like practical applications. Having concern for other people's concerns doesn't really go far in depth, and it's not very self-explanatory too. Because, like, to what depth? Because when you have concern for something else people else have concern into, it's like how far do you go into that concern? It's like if someone's interested in like I don't know, like climate change or something like that, it's like you have to invest a lot of your time researching and understanding climate change to kind of share that concern with them, or like what?
Or just ask them a couple questions.
Yeah, it's like how far do you go when it comes to your concern, like to other people's concerns? I definitely understand like the gist of it, like the general idea that whatever people are interested in, you should have some degree of interest in there. But, obviously practicing that is the difficult part, and to like what depth is something I would like to know. Because like Joseph likes, computers and computer hardware and stuff, but that stuff is not that interesting to me. So it's like, if he's working on Raspberry Pi, do I have to be there working on Raspberry Pi with him and stuff? Because that's basically the equivalent of the analogy where you have to, he says you have to like play toys with the kids. He says like, he gives them like that metaphor. Yeah. In the book, he has that metaphorical like story. He's like, if the kids are like playing with toys, you have to like engage and play with toys like to like show that you have concern for what they have concern with, and basically put yourself in like their shoes and try to understand like why they like it and stuff like that.
You gotta trick them into becoming one of them.
But
Hello, fellow kids.
Then he also, I thought they said in there at one point that you don't want to do stuff like that.
I think the
You're
youth maybe
misleading
said that and stuff.
Hmm.
But yeah,
I just want to see this guy go teach a group of kids and see how it works out for him.
Oh, he went over that in part 2. That's funny as hell. He was about ready to go cuckoo.
Yeah. No, I meant the philosopher. I'd like to see the philosopher do it.
Yeah.
Practice what you preach, you some bitch.
He's a philosopher. He doesn't have to do that because he knows it all.
He's
He knows the
10.
theory of it though.
Right.
But is he good at
But not the
practicing?
practical aspect.
I think that's all I had for part 1. There wasn't much. Well, I don't remember some of the
Joseph
sections. Actually.
turn.
Yeah.
Joseph's turn.
For me, part 1 just seemed like a lot of moaning and complaining, and then also like an
Bitching
intro from the
moan.
previous book. Yeah, that's all it was really. But the like what Blake touched on earlier too is you can't force love or respect out of someone. That is definitely true.
I wonder what
There's
Blake's
some
touching on right now.
I'm not touching on
That's
nothing.
about it. I
Who's
don't
laying
have
here?
any,
He's
I
fucking
don't have
dead.
any notes from
I'm alive.
the first part, so
Oh,
I'll
what
go
the
ahead and pass it
fuck?
on.
Joseph!
That's
Help
it.
me!
I'm done
Crushed him.
Oh, I accidentally sat down.
talking while I was talking.
Should
Oh
we
well.
go?
It is rude. It's rude. Gotta give Joseph the talking stick.
No, it's fine. I
We
can
didn't ring the
start on
bell.
part 2 if you want me to. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
do you
yeah,
wanna
we'll
that?
do it reversed. Yeah,
Yeah,
let's do
Yeah, I
that.
reverse
guess so. For
Reverse.
part 2, one that I thought was interesting is like towards the end of it when he's talking about the whole 5 steps and all that, and like when he's talking about how to teach the children, and then he was doing it in his class, and he's to the point where he's just letting them do whatever they want, and he was complaining to the philosopher about that, like it's just like a nightmare in my class. They do what they want, they don't listen, they don't do anything, and it's like I thought that was interesting. Because, like, don't you have to punish kids to a certain point? Like, if you just let them run all over you, they're still going to do whatever they want to do. Like,
Yeah,
you gotta guide them
that's
and
kind of how I
direct them.
feel
It
about
doesn't make any
dogs.
sense. Because it's like, if you do that in a real, like, you go to a real school and just let the kids run all over you, there's some teachers that I went to school with that did that, and it's just like, they do what the fuck they want. So I disagree with the philosopher when he says on that point where you just let them do whatever they want.
I think it might have to be to like a certain age or
Degree.
Because
Degree.
Or what?
I guess that's where I disagree with him, and I think like maybe at like a certain age you can kind of give them free roam and stuff. But
Right.
when they're young kids, it's like they need guidance and direction. They don't know how the world works.
Yeah, they can walk in the street. It's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like you can't let a kid do what they want like all the time.
Yeah.
That's terrible. That's a terrible
Yeah, because
way.
he said there's no law in my class. They just do whatever they want and they don't listen. And he was so frustrated. I think it's like towards the end of the book, towards the end of that part, the part 2 is. Yeah, I was laughing. He was so
Yeah.
frustrated.
So yeah, this
Go ahead.
is interesting. Go ahead. No, I'll
no,
talk
that's
about it
it.
when it's my turn.
No, that was it. That's all I really had to say about that part. I don't want
Okay.
to talk too much about it because it seems like the part 2 didn't really have a lot to talk about because he's going over the 5 steps and stuff like that. I don't want to take everyone's stuff. So I'll go ahead and pass it on to next. Fox next.
Okay. Well, I guess this is kind of like still a continuation of like what you said, but the well, I guess I'll start with this part. Adler's like do not praise and do not rebuke part reminds me of I don't remember where I read this from, but they were talking about religion, and the guy essentially said that they preach and they teach heaven and hell because there are some people amongst like the masses that need a carrot and some that need a stick. And the essence what he was getting at was that basically a majority of people don't need a carrot and stick. They don't need like a heaven or hell. They'll just do the right thing just because a vast majority of people are just good natured. They'll just do
Need
the
some
good things.
guidance though.
Probably.
Yeah, but then
True.
for like a minority people, some of them need heaven. They need something to pursue, and then for other minority people, they need a stick. Like they need punishment to dissuade them. And
Yeah.
I think maybe
Hunt
that's
showdown players.
they definitely need a stick. Smack them.
They like the pain and suffer.
But I think Adler psychology kind of makes like a lot more sense in like that regard. That's like okay, Adler psychology probably makes a lot of sense for like that mass of people that don't need like a heaven and hell. They don't need the praise or rebuke because that's like the analogy analogical equivalence between like the religious version and the Adler psychology is that you have heaven, which is the praise, or you have the hell, which is the stick equivalent.
Mm-hmm.
And I say there's probably some students and like some people that will need like praise or rebuking to like make them have good behavior. But I think for a majority of people, once they get to a certain age and maturity and education and stuff, they don't like praising and rebuking is probably just detrimental to them.
What about
Probably. That's probably why
got-
there's so many disgruntled employees.
Well, I got
They
something I
don't
wanted
need
to-
they don't need both.
There's
go
something
ahead,
I wanted to talk about too. Is what you were talking about, the praise and rebuke. It reminded me. I remember there was one part where we were talking about these little kids, like the kids, like if they do good, for example, don't acknowledge their achievements or anything like that. Just let it go, let it be on. Like, don't you want to praise if they're doing something good? Don't you want to tell them like, hey, good job, keep it up? Like if you just don't want to discourage them if they don't, you don't acknowledge it.
No, this is something in like psychology. It's I forget what it's called, but there's a difference between intrinsic and extrinsic value. And whenever somebody is doing something naturally, if say like you're working on computers and stuff like that. If I wanted to be kind of like a bastard about it, and you're sitting there, fixing computers, doing the things that you naturally want to do, and I went out there and I praised you for that stuff, I'm conditioning you to have extrinsic value in doing that, and then so you won't continue that behavior unless you're getting praised for it. But if you already have that intrinsic value, the value inside of you, like you just enjoy doing it, you don't want to get in there and give extrinsic value to it, because then they don't want to do it anymore. They'll stop.
I actually believe that because
Isn't that like dogs and treats, basically?
dogs in training, so if you don't have you have a dog that has limited training, it'll typically go play with toys by itself. But if you train the dog a lot and you play with the toys with the dog, like you're praising them, right? So then they just kind of stop playing with the toys unless you play with them or praise them to go get it. Then you kind of turn them on. So that's why that kind of clicks. I feel like that makes sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah. And that definitely makes kind of sense thinking about it with like the Adler's thing, where you try not to like intervene and like praise or rebuke them.
I see what you're saying. Basically, you're conditioning them to get the reward from being be like, hey, good job when doing
yeah,
that.
and I think that even I noticed that, like, if I think about it, like when I train dogs and stuff, like do I do it because I enjoy doing it and like I like to see the work that I've done, or am I doing it because I want other people to say, because I think I see a lot of trainers out there that are kind of really harsh on the dogs because they want other people to acknowledge how good the dog is because they trained it, and I have a little bit less of an ego. It's still there, but it's not as high as some people, because I don't compromise the dog. I always tell people, like, it's up to your dog. He's going to determine, where he's at in his training. I'm not going to like traumatize him or push him. Like, he just is who he is, So I don't really because I don't think it's like you shouldn't have ego about it, because it's so dumb in my opinion, because it's like the dog is separate from you. It's not like they're invested too much. They invested too much of their personal like value into an external thing that you will never have complete control over, because it's not a fucking programmable robot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think that's kind of it. I guess a brief, or just I guess a listing of the stages of problem behaviors. The first one is demand for admiration, or demand for recognition. I don't know why they chose admiration when the previous book talked a lot about recognition.
Yeah.
And the second one is attention drawing. The third one is power struggles. Fourth one is revenge. And fifth one is proof of incompetence. And
The revenge one creeps me out.
yeah.
Yeah, that one was a bit creepy. The like when it gets to the worst part.
Yeah. Well, I guess like the kind of like the breaking point, because he said once it goes past the power struggle phase is when it's extremely hard to kind of get them to like correct their problem behavior. So I guess the one you probably should be the most familiar with is like the power struggle ones, because then stuff is going bad.
Yeah, how do you prevent it from going to... Did he get really practical? Like, do you feel like practical?
He said at that point though, once you get past the power struggle, it's like you got to get help from other sources. Like
Yeah.
you can't
Oh
do
yeah,
anything.
professional.
You need
Yeah,
like a
professional
psychiatrist or something
Yeah.
to like intervene, like a third party.
Oh, so people like some people in their marriages legitimately need marriage counseling. Is that why
Yeah.
the judges prescribe it then? They're like, no, you have to do this, bitch.
Probably.
You're beyond repair.
Yeah, probably. Because I mean, if you look at it, if you get to like the revenge stage, it doesn't really matter what the other person says. There's like no way for them to kind of like fix or amend anything that's like transpired between you two.
Because you're
Like,
doing it out of spite,
You
basically.
just like
Is that what
yeah,
it is?
you basically will just hate them so much that even if even if that person you hate legitimately comes up to you and like, hey, I'm sorry I wronged you, I want to fix what's between us, you probably hate that person so much that you think it's probably something they're trying to get at, like some angle they're trying to play or they're trying
You're
to
always
manipulate
thinking
or
the worst
something.
of it. I see. You're thinking
Yeah.
the worst of it.
Yeah, there's
that
like
they're
no way
trying to
you can
use you.
take their
I see.
word at face value. You're like, I hate this son of a bitch. I hate everything
And
he
then
does.
yeah, and you
Well,
need to
some
die.
people are just manipulative by nature. Like, I honestly think that they learn it from their parents and they don't even. I think they're probably just very, very mildly aware of it, if at all.
Because like children are a product of what their parents are. So
I
Yeah.
really see that, especially like when kids are like 10 years old and stuff. Like, you could just so see it where it's like they just mimic their parents and they're like, oh, I love this. And I'm like, I don't think you love it. I think that you just see your parents and you're just copying them. So,
Yeah.
oh, whose turn is it now? Brett's turn. When's my turn?
Oh, Steffi's turn.
Oh, it's my turn?
Yeah,
Okay,
we're
so
going,
I wanted to.
reverse. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to say I'm not looking at the screen, so I couldn't see. I wanted to ask about. Okay, so the kids. You know how you said like not letting the kids. He said let the kids do what they want, basically.
Mhm.
So I haven't had time to have a big enough thought experiment about this because so I have a. I'll just tell you. So I have a client that has 2 kids, and I think one's 6 and 4, 6, 5. I don't know, something like that. And one of them, the younger one, really loves TV. Like she loves to watch TV, and the mom's like, "Oh yeah, we really have to watch her, and we only let her watch it at night." And so she's very like like monitoring how much she doesn't want her to get addicted to the TV, but it seems like she already is. Like, do you? So I understand she's doing it in the kid's best interest because she doesn't want her to only watch the TV. She wants her to go outside and play with her sister. So that's where I'm like, okay, that seems like a good thing that the mom is doing. But then I'm like, okay, well, if what he's talking about, so like just let her watch TV, right? And let her enjoy it. Would she maybe then outgrow it? Like maybe she'll watch so much TV that she's like, oh, I'm not interested in this anymore. And then, oh, I want to go outside and play. And then that'll just kind of be a problem that self-corrects itself. Because that's what I was thinking. Maybe that's why he says that. Because kids do get bored of stuff.
Mhm.
So maybe, and sometimes, you know, when kids kind of want to drink, like usually if they they go out and they fucking drink too much and then they fucking throw up and they fucking black out and they have a horrible time. Then they're like, nah, I'm not really gonna. This is not my jam.
my mom tried to do that with me and it never worked. It just made me drink more. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
My mom was a bartender. 16th birthday, she got me a kegger and it never worked.
No.
Mhm.
Nope.
Yeah. So, well, the alcohol thing is complicated too because
Yeah.
some people have more genes that are
But-
like, you know, they can drink more and they enjoy it more.
Get a
and-
dopamine rush off of it.
Yep.
Well, you're talking about the kids. My parents would always force me to go outside as a kid. Like I didn't get to watch TV. We get yelled at for watching TV, and it's like
And that's what
I
the
had
youth was
friends-
saying, right?
I
That you
had
would come back
friends
and
that would watch TV though, and like they would never get bored of it. They just get sucked into it. Like a lot of the cartoons kids watch nowadays are just fucking brain melting cartoons. There's nothing to it, and they get zombified in front of the TV.
yeah. So then it becomes kind of like it can be. You got to be careful, right? Because your kids
Yeah.
can become addicted to stuff. So wouldn't you want to like monitor that?
Yeah, that's
It's
what I
like the
would do.
same way, like if I didn't want my dog to chase squirrels,
Or
I'm gonna
video
like make
games.
sure I don't
Video
put him in
games,
that
too, it's
environment
like
all
they
the
get
time,
really
right?
addicted too. It's like letting kids play video games all day, being a video game babysitter. So it's like they get addicted to it.
Yeah. Because everything in life is balance, and I feel like if your parents don't teach you that, like, are you ever gonna teach yourself that?
Valid point.
Sorry, what do you guys think about it? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah,
I know
I don't know.
none of us have kids here, so.
I definitely think there definitely is like bad behavior you should intervene on. Like obviously if it's something self-destructive, like if your kid is like schizophrenic and picking at their skin and ripping their skin off, you can't really just leave them to something like that.
Autistic kid, oh, you'll figure it out.
Yeah, or if they're like
Program.
autistic or they're like mental disorders and they're beating themselves in the face, it's like you can't really leave them to that.
No, you can't
Yeah.
intervene on their tasks. You gotta let them
Yeah.
beat themselves.
Their task is to beat themselves to death, and you can't
Yeah.
intervene.
Mm,
That's why I almost agree with the youth on some things because I'm like it seems more like an ideology and it is hard to put it into practice like in all applications, right? Like
Mhm.
across the board. So, because I
Yeah.
also see that in both types of dog training, like the people that use a lot of correction and the people that use a lot of treats. Some people think you can train everything literally with treats, and I'm like, yeah, but those people also don't take them out into like, they don't take them outside off leash. So I'm like, does that really count? Or, like I wouldn't trust either way too much. So
I trained a serial killer to not kill anybody anymore by giving them treats when they don't kill people.
yeah, they're like, oh, I trained my pit bull that's aggressive with treats, and look at all his tricks he does. But I'm like, yeah, you still can't take him outside.
Yeah, so I'm not really sure how it's supposed to work. I know for most people, or probably for everybody, the thing that usually works the best and helps like correct like bad behaviors like drug addiction or playing too many video games and stuff is they need to have like something that's actually of value that's like worth pursuing to that individual. So it's like
Okay, so something else rewarding in their life
Yeah.
that they do.
they need something basically that is meaningful to
Stimulating.
them that they can do. And if
Okay.
they're devoid of that, if they're devoid of something that they genuinely want to pursue and like devote their time and effort into, they just become very dysfunctional. They start doing drugs, sleeping all day, depression, video games, and it's like the only thing that prevents them from doing those things. It's not a thing about like discipline at all. It's like they haven't disciplined themselves to not play video games or not do bad behaviors. It's just that I want this and I want it really bad. So I'm not going to do stupid stuff that jeopardizes my chance of success at the thing I actually want.
Right, which is why a certain amount of responsibilities is a good thing,
Yeah. And people should have like those goals and like a trajectory of like where they want to be and to pursue
That's why,
that.
yeah, like a lot of wealthy people, they don't just give their kids money and like buy them houses and stuff, even though, I mean, some of them do, but a lot of them make them get a job and have a purpose and have responsibility. Because otherwise, those are the kids that just, end up druggies.
Yeah.
Yeah, sadly.
It is how it is.
Or if they got everything handed to them, they just expect it out of everybody too.
Yeah, you gotta be careful because it's just creates a whole bunch of problems.
Yeah, but when you're handed
That's
everything
the
too,
inferiority complex.
yeah, when you're handed everything, then you like nothing has value anymore. So
Right.
it's like it doesn't matter. It's all irrelevant.
Because you never had to work for it.
Mm-hmm.
No, I remember the day I turned fucking 16, my dad's like, either you're staying in college or your ass is getting a job or getting kicked the fuck out.
And what'd you choose?
I actually ended up, he made me get a fucking job in a factory. Like, and then I wanted to pursue stuff in Ivy Tech, and I didn't get that option. Really, it sucks because I was trying to do. I had like vocational classes on the side, and it got to the point where he got really bad with his money, and I had to help him out with shit. So it sucked.
Yeah, I feel you on that.
That was
That
like
happened
right
to me.
when the shit happened with my mom too, and then she was like basically bedridden, and I was taking care of her. So
That's pretty much happened like my first attempt at college. Is that my dad
Well,
lost his job, and then I'm like, oh,
damn.
I don't have the time or the money anymore to go to college because I had to.
Well, but
like,
he never
pay for
offered to
him.
pay though, right? He never
No.
offered to pay for school. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
he never offered for me to pay me either. So, and I had the horse, so I had to get a job.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
so for me,
well, I
go ahead.
was paying for my college and stuff, but then when he got injured and stuff, I had to start paying for a bunch of stuff, and I didn't have the time or the money anymore when he was injured and not making money to go to college.
Eating $200 sushi.
Yeah, and he's like, I had to do groceries. It was so expensive
I
during
bet.
that time. It sucked. I was just losing all my money.
Yeah, what happened with me is my mom was bedridden. My dad was an alcoholic, and he liked spending fucking $600-700 every other night at the bar. And I had to, basically, I was the one who dropped out of community college because I was going to Ivy Tech for like computer stuff. Dropped out so I could take care of her, and I was the one that had to flush her PICC line and all that shit every 12 hours and give her meds because
Oh,
my dad
wow.
wouldn't do it. Dad wouldn't do it. He didn't care. He said that or she'll go to a nursing home. Yeah.
That's
So.
crazy.
Yep.
So that fucker doesn't have no respect for her.
The kids are the adults nowadays.
Steven's in the book club now.
Oh boy,
Steven's book club.
he's back.
Okay, Steven.
What up?
Your turn to cover part 2 of the book.
I pull up.
He's the baby. Let's go.
Oh, I could leave if you got.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
We're pretty much
Wow.
done, right? We're almost done.
Brett and Blake need their turn.
Yeah.
Brett and Blake
Yeah,
need
we're
their
almost done.
Yeah. Oh, Sophie, are you done with your turn? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm done.
Brett's turn.
Part 2, I just read today. I don't know how to feel about the first part. Like, the classroom is a democratic nation. I agree with it, but I've also seen like fucking TV shows fucking make fun of that shit.
We've seen how real
Yeah.
democracy plays out, and it doesn't work too well.
It's more like because it's so small, insurrection gets spread so much faster. The idea of a democratic nation in a classroom is really cool because then people get to learn what they want to learn and you can steer it into a fashion that is fun for everyone. And that's what I feel like the aim is, at least, is with these smaller kids that they're talking about, like the elementary kids, is that they have a lot of like energy and they want to do fun stuff. So you need to steer them towards stuff that they think is fun, but also helps them.
Mhm.
I think that's the more proactive and constructive way to do it. But, I was gonna bring this up anyways, but I don't think I don't even know how to fucking say the fucking psychology.
Alderian.
Adlerian psychology
Dear.
is better met as an idea than an ideal.
Mhm.
Because a lot of this shit does not make sense. Like, if we go back to what you guys were saying before, about like not doing shit with your child and letting them choose their own function, that's
Yeah.
not what you do as a parent. When I'm looking at this, he says that teach them to live their own life, which is true. But at the end, he said this is how educators should be. As a parent, you're not an educator fully.
True.
You are the responsible one of that child. You need to teach them right and wrong,
Morals,
at
and
least
values, right?
basics.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah,
Right.
and values.
That's one thing I didn't like
At
about
least
it.
that you have. So, like, I feel like this book is less focused on, or at least what we've read is less focused on how to apply Adlerian, whatever, psychology in
Parenting.
life, and rather focusing on this dumb young motherfucker teacher situation.
That's how I'm feeling about it. I know you're paying.
Yeah, I think
Toward the end.
I think this book is supposed to be kind of like a response to maybe like criticism that the first
Maybe.
book had,
Yeah,
because that's what like the use role seems to be. It's like, oh, I tried putting Adlerian psychology Adlerian psychology into practice and it didn't work, and he's like, oh, here, you're stupid and this is why it didn't work. Even though I think it's
Well, maybe the book will be leading us to the actual answer. Maybe they're putting us in the youth, like to identify with the youth, right? And be like, no, that we feel like this guy because it's true. Kids are assholes. They're demons.
yeah.
Yeah.
maybe.
Well, kids just don't even have like they don't have the understanding of like, you know, societal values and stuff. So they don't even know what is valuable or anything. Like there's a lot that kids have to learn to kind of catch up to speed with everybody else.
They're not even conscious,
Mm-hmm.
depending on the age, right? Didn't they say what age you get consciousness?
For some people, never.
For me,
got a
about
point.
6.
6, yeah. My friend sent me this really funny meme. It was like when you finally gain consciousness, like when you're a 5-year-old, and you're like, "Where am I? What are we doing? Oh my God, there's people climbing all over the place." And I was like, I don't really have the like. Do some people have the definitive moment? Because I don't have a definitive moment when I gain
I
consciousness.
do, but
We
that
have-
was
we
when
have-
I
Do?
moved to Tennessee, so it was really easy to pick the moment.
Oh, okay, so it was very like vivid. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Can
still
you
not
guys
conscious
remember
yet.
anything? What's your guys' like youngest memory? Because I didn't know if I was like a weirdo for not remembering stuff when I was like young. I don't think I
Probably
remember
more
anything before 5. Very few
Traumatic
things.
shit. Just traumatic shit for me. That's about it.
I remember when I was like 3 or 4, I watched my sister run over our sandbox that was shaped like a turtle.
Huh?
Like, so I had to cover like a turtle's like shell, and she ran
Yeah.
over it with her dirt bike.
Sad? Were you sad? You must have been sad.
I mean, it got a dent. I wasn't really sad. I was like,
Okay.
yeah, that was sick.
Oh, so you thought it was cool. Okay, get your hand
Yeah.
over. Oh
I-
my gosh, that's funny.
The most thing I can remember is from being young. It's probably when we were like I was about 5, maybe 6. Me and my brother, we played this game called Boot the Rabbit because my parents had like, we had wood floors and they'd wax them, and we boot each other across. And I booted my brother. He went through the double French doors and had to get like 120 stitches.
Damn.
Sick.
He
Mikey,
was
do you
fucked up.
remember running at my brother?
Oh.
That's not as many stitches.
Wait
as
a
Mikey
minute,
got.
wait a minute. Then the most earliest one I could probably remember when I was about 4, and my brother was pissed off at me, and my mom was making macaroni and cheese, and I was standing by her feet, and he just comes up and hits the boiling pot of water, spills it all over me.
How old were you then?
Like 4,
Oh my god.
maybe 5.
My brother actually ran into the wall and cracked his head open. I remember that. But I think I was. How old were you, Mikey, when that happened?
Was it like
I
the-
don't know. I don't know.
Was it like the Mario Kid video where he's running around and runs straight into the
Pretty
we
wall?
much,
were
yeah.
just being kids. Yeah, we were running around the fucking house, and there was newspaper on the floor. He slipped, and he hit the corner of the wall. Just bam, right in his
Oh, fuck.
fucking head.
Yeah, that had to
And-
hurt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't really remember him falling or anything. I remember him hitting his head, and then I remember my mom sitting him on the counter, and he's just like his whole body is covered in fucking blood.
Yeah, any head wound will do that.
My mom just leaves him on the counter, and she's screaming, like looking for the phone. Like she's
That
so
sounds like what
bad.
happened with my mom when I was taking a bath as a kid, and I hit the back of my head on the water faucet. And she came in the bathtub, and the bathtub was completely fucking red from the blood coming off the back of my head, and I'm just playing in the bathtub, like not even caring.
Damn.
And then
Did-
she
Mikey, how old were
reacted,
you?
and then I started freaking out.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
kids.
I think I was fairly
You-
young, probably like around 10 or something like that.
Do you remember that though? I think you were younger than that.
Yeah, I remember parts of it. I remember I was running around, and there's like this little doorway entrance where it's almost like where a door would be, but there's like no door. And I was like running in and out of there, and they had newspapers on the ground. And on one like circuit of that run around of the house, I ran around and I stepped right on the newspaper and I slid on it like a Looney Tunes character on like a greasy like floor. And I slid and I slammed right into the corner of the wall of like the door frame, and it
That
smacked
was
me right in the
totally
face.
their fault for leaving that shit out. Fucking retarded as parents. Oh my god.
I was perfectly fine, but then I stepped on that newspaper and I just wham right into the fucking door.
Oh yeah, we did
Right
plenty
in
of laps before you actually fell. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't like we were going for a while.
Yeah, we were running around the house like a bunch of crackheads.
See, and then they always say, "Don't you want kids?" I'm like, "Oh my god, didn't
Or
we drive you
funny-
nuts?"
Funny memories too. One of my buddies I used to hang out with, Tanner. I remember one day we were, I think this was when we were teenagers. We were drinking and he's holding a taser backwards. He's like, "I'm gonna tase you, Joseph." He comes running at me. I was like, "Go ahead, do it. You ain't got no balls." And I watched him tase himself. Yeah, funny shit too. You remember? Like this dude, like yeah,
That's terrible.
watching somebody tase herself is pretty funny actually.
What about you guys? You got any other childhood memories you want to share?
Childhood trauma.
Any-
No.
Any pre-conscious memories? Huh?
I remember my sister and I fighting, and she put me in a headlock, and she had braces, and I headbutted her with my head. So she cut open my head, and I cut open her lip.
Yeah.
Oh man, how old were you when you did that?
Ten.
That's bad.
Oh
I
my
didn't know what
god.
braces are like. Man, I can imagine her lips were all tore up from that.
Yeah.
It was like one big cut, so it
Oh.
wasn't like too bad.
Okay.
Because pretty much when it happened, she like screamed, and then Dad came. He was like, "Well, you both are fucking around, so deal with it."
It's like looks like a fair fight to me. You both got wounded.
Yeah, pretty much. My sister always got hated on by bees. I remember that too.
Bees.
There
They
was-
liked her. She
She
smelled
got-
pretty.
She got stung by wasps all the time, and there was like one summer where the wasp like built a nest under the grill, and she got stung every time she went by it. But
They
everyone
hated
else,
her.
they hated her,
What?
but everyone else went by the grill, and no one got stung. It was just
Wasps
her.
are assholes. I'm allergic to them, so I'm allergic to bees. I know how that is. I'd always get stung as a kid. This shit sucks.
I thought you were
I
allergic
got
to like
stung
some
by
type of
one in my
wasp.
bedroom.
Did she wear
No,
like
wasps
perfume
and-
or something? Did she smell pretty to them?
No,
Wasps
No.
and bees.
So
I'm allergic to
weird.
both.
I don't
It's the
know.
venom. The venom that they have.
Like her, maybe she had some fucking pheromone, and they're just like,
I
attack,
don't fucking know.
attack this bitch.
Didn't sting us. Didn't sting the dog. Just her.
Not even the dog. Not even the dog gets a love from the wasp.
They actually did studies on bees and wasps. They can actually remember stuff. So, like, if you throw something at one of their nests or you try to kill them, they'll actively they can remember that stuff.
Oh,
They
so you
can
better
identify
genocide them and
faces.
kill all
Yeah,
of them?
basically. They got the hive mind mentality. It transfers to all of them.
That's crazy. For all eternity? What if you're fucked for all eternity, all wasps? Across all borders.
I
and
avoid
nations.
bolt-faced hornets like a fucking plague, because every time I see them, they fucking attack me. That's the big black and white ones.
Ooh. Those bite hard? Or
They
sting hard?
bite and sting. Yeah, what they'll do is they'll use their mandibles. They'll bite down on you and sting you repeatedly.
Fucking brutal.
Gross little bastards.
Then they get big too. They're scary. Their stingers can get up like to a quarter-inch long.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Keep that shit in Indiana.
Oh, they're
I
all over. They're common all over. If you see like they look like a yellow jacket, but they're black and white striped, and they're really
Oh,
big. They're
I think I
hornet-
have seen them.
Yeah.
Then they're like the size of a Japanese beetle.
Almost, yeah. Maybe a little bit bigger.
Yeah, I've seen them around before. Or run. I hear them coming and we're out.
What I've learned, as long as you don't panic, and if you if you piss them off or aggro them, then you're screwed. Most like if I see anything that flies around and stings, I just walk out the room like, well, it's the room now. I'm leaving.
It's good. So hey, what do you guys think? In conclusion of the book club today, what did you guys think of this?
Blake-
This
no,
one?
You
We didn't do
skip over
Blake's turn.
Blake.
Oh, we're skipping Blake. Blake didn't want
You
to go.
skip Blake.
Okay.
Okay.
He said okay.
That's
I'm
mean.
just kidding.
I was
Alright,
finishing
go ahead,
my
Blake, go.
turn, but that's fine. I've been,
Oh, did you not fit? Sorry. Go,
Oh,
go,
you
go,
didn't
go,
no,
go.
fit.
it's fine.
Sorry
Let's
about
just go to Blake. We've been talking for a long time, anyways.
I'm like, we're off topic now. We're talking about bees and shit. I'm like,
Sorry.
conclusion.
Yeah, I didn't have that many notes for part 2. Just only when the content conveyed is understood and a consensus is reached does the communication have meaning.
Communication. Communication.
That's a pretty good quote.
And the other thing was that some people basically lack the courage to live, or lack the courage to use reason without direction from like an outside source, like another person or something. So basically, it's easier to live according to some direction that somebody else gives you.
Somebody basically telling you how to do everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was it.
So what do you
Very
guys
good.
think of this one versus the last one?
Don't know yet. It's still too early
Okay, true.
for
I
me.
s- I like the last
I like the last one more.
Yeah. The last one was, I want to say, very inspiring.
Yeah, I think we're about like halfway with this one already, huh?
It's a short book. The audiobook part, it only has like 4 sections, so it's pretty short.
Okay. Because this goes to, it looks like it goes like
Ah.
250s, and we already just finished 100. So
Why are you
yeah,
freaking
we're
out?
getting close to half. But I don't know. I think it's pretty good. I don't know if I obviously don't really fully agree with the Adlerian psychology stuff. There's definitely some things that I can definitely agree with. Like, I think some things are definitely a value. I think the stages of problem behavior is something that's definitely pretty valuable to know and learn. And then another thing, I think the rule of one can choose one's own life, like, you don't intervene on like what people want to do with their lives, but you can like offer guidance. I think that's definitely a piece of wisdom from this book.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah, like that stuff makes a lot of sense, because you hear, how many people do you hear all the time? They're like, oh, I didn't want to be a lawyer, or I didn't want to go this, but my parents forced me, and they just like hate their life.
A lot.
Yeah, it's like everyone pretty much is like that.
Right.
Like, oh, my parents forced me to do this stupid career choice, and they just hate their life.
I even have this old book. I can't remember what year it is. It's either early 1900s or late 1800s, and it says the same thing. It says, "Don't force your child into a career." How did they word it? That his nature doesn't support.
Mhm.
So it was like, yeah, like it said, cater to like his skills and his natural desires. So that way he doesn't. Probably because they didn't want fucking people to be all fucking depressed. Because you get depressed and you get suicidal or you're fucking mean. Like,
Yeah.
it's just. And a lot of wasted talent, right? Like some people just have talent in other fields and then they're just mediocre in the rest of it.
Yeah, and it's best to put them in whatever they're naturally strong at, because then they're going to be more motivated. They're going to be happier, have better just everything. Everything would just be better. It's like you put somebody in the wrong like field that they're not very interested in, which I think why like the U.S. like a big part of why like the U.S. like medical field is so messed up, because most people just go into it for money and they have genuinely no concern for healing people or the art of medicine at all. So they're just exclusively in it for the money. So that's why I think the United States medical system, or at least a part of it, why it sucks really bad.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're sick and you're dying and you have this issue. Here's this prescription. The prescription doesn't work, and they're like, here's more of
Sick
it.
care, not health care. It's not like wellness. There's when anyone asks you, oh, what do you regularly eat? I'll believe them that they're doing a good job when they actually give you a question on like, what's your diet typically like?
Mhm.
And then fucking make dietary recommendations on, oh,
Yeah.
maybe you shouldn't drink a liter of soda a day. It's not good for you and your diabetes. Do they even tell diabetic people to not drink soda? I'm like, so
I think in general they
but-
tell them to avoid sugar, but that's about it.
they're like, oh, so go with the Diet Coke.
Yeah, because those are so much healthier for you.
Back out there. I'm like, Jesus. Well, there's still people out there that think that that's fine, right? Because they're like, oh, it doesn't have sugar, so it's healthy. Or
Yeah.
fine for me. I don't know. It's weird. Not good.
It's definitely one of those like the new like fat scare things where, oh, all sugar is bad. It's like definitely not. Like sugar from quality fruits is definitely not bad for you.
Like or
Yeah,
cane
and probably-
sugar is more better for you, like raw sugar versus like the highly processed stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I don't know. I haven't done research and stuff, but there's a sweetener it's monk fruit sugar. It's super sweet. And then
Never
they
heard
have
of that.
stevia. Stevia is from a plant too, and that's actually
Yeah,
really
but
sweet.
they refine it though. That's the issue. They refine the stuff, and that's when it becomes unhealthy.
Yeah, it just depends. I
And
guess.
I think when you take sugar too, because there's a lot of like old medical like professionals. I mean like during like Roman times and stuff like that, they always said, don't you're not supposed to have fruits, which was their only like source of sugars back then. You're not supposed to have fruits when you eat like other meals, like when you eat breads or meats and stuff like that. You're not supposed to have fruit with that.
Oh, I remember
why
you
is-
mentioning that you say you like want to do it throughout the day as like a bump me up or a take me up, like an energy versus doing it with all your other stuff.
Yeah,
with your dinner meals.
Usually when I
better
have
than
fruits or
regular.
sugars, it's like I have it like 1 to 2 hours before I have like an actual meal.
Yeah, you said eating sugar with protein is bad too.
Yeah.
Dr. Berger, I remember hearing him saying that too. Think.
Mhm.
It said that if you take fiber though, right, which would be like in the fruits,
Mhm.
that helps buffer your insulin response to sugar.
Yeah, fibers kind of like help slow down like the absorption rate of everything. That's why like sugar drinks are the worst for you, because you drink it and there's no fiber or anything that kind of makes it slowly get into your system. You just
Instant crackhead.
Yeah, you just absorb all of it almost instantly. So real bad for you.
Unless you like went on a super long hike and you're like used up all your glycogen stores, then I could see why like a soda actually, because I feel like that's the one and only time I can drink a soda and not get sick or have any negative like health
Yeah.
impacts from that is like after walking 6 miles.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, like those Gatorades and stuff, they're definitely good, but it's like they fill the role of, it's supposed to be like post workout or when you're still like working out like intensely. It's like it's not a drink you sip on.
You don't understand what a workout is to average people. It's a casual walk around 1 block.
It's a casual 2 YouTube videos back to back. They're like, I need a Gatorade. It's so strenuous. So
Oh, that VR chat was so strenuous.
Yeah.
Strenuous.
yeah, I'm all
Move
tuckered
my
out.
arms too much.
I need a 64 ouncer of soda right now. After that.